The morning sun of the twin stars cast long shadows across the training ground of the Galactic Academy. Hundreds of cadets from dozens of different species stood in neat rows, waiting for the results of their survival assessment. Some had scales that shimmered like diamonds. Others had muscles that could crush steel. A few floated above the ground, their bodies made of pure energy. In the back row stood, she was small, she was thin. She had no claws, she had no fangs. She had no armor on her skin, she was human. Instructor walked to the front of the crowd. He was a massive creature from the planet. His body was covered in thick green scales, and his 4 arms ended in razor-sharp claws. He had been a hunter for 300 years before becoming a teacher. Every student feared him. Every student respected him. "Today," said in his deep voice, "I will tell you where your species stands in the galaxy's food chain." The crowd became silent. This was the moment everyone had been waiting for. The survival ranking determined everything at the Academy. It decided which missions you could join. It decided which weapons you could use. It decided how much respect you would receive. Looked at his data pad and began reading names. "They are ranked first. We are the ultimate predators of the galaxy." His own species cheered loudly. They bumped their chests together and roared with pride. "They are ranked second. Their venom can kill in 3 seconds." A group of snake-like creatures hissed with satisfaction. Their purple scales glowed under the twin suns. "They are ranked third. Their strength is unmatched." Giant rock creatures nodded slowly. Each one was as tall as a building and as heavy as a spaceship. Continued reading. Species after species received their rankings. Some were happy, some were disappointed, but everyone accepted their place. This was the natural order of things. The strong hunted, the weak were hunted. Finally reached the last name on his list. He paused. A small smile appeared on his face. "And at the very bottom," he said slowly, "ranked 147th out of 147 species. Humans." Laughter exploded across the training ground. Every alien turned to look at. She was the only human in this year's class. She stood alone, surrounded by creatures that could kill her in a heartbeat. "Humans," continued, clearly enjoying himself, "are soft. They have no natural weapons. Their skin tears like paper. Their bones break like twigs. They cannot see in the dark. They cannot smell danger. They cannot hear enemies approaching." More laughter. Some cadets pointed at. Others made jokes about eating her for dinner. Did not move. Her face showed nothing. Her eyes stayed fixed on Instructor. "In fact," said, walking closer to the human section, "I have studied many species in my long life, and I can say with complete confidence that humans are physically incapable of hunting. You are a prey species. You exist only to be eaten by others." A cadet slithered next to. His name was Tass, and he was the top student in combat class. "Do not feel bad, little human," Tass whispered. "Someone has to be at the bottom. It might as well be the species that bleeds from a small cut." Turned to look at him. Her brown eyes met his yellow ones. "Thank you for your words," she said calmly. "I will remember them." Tass laughed and slithered away. He did not understand why her simple words made him feel uncomfortable. After the announcement, cadets returned to their rooms, but walked in a different direction. She walked toward Instructor's office. The door was open. Sat behind a massive desk made from the bones of creatures he had killed. Trophies covered every wall, skulls, claws, fangs. Each one told a story of death. "Human," said without looking up, "what do you want?" "I want to prove you wrong." Now looked up. His 4 eyes studied the small creature standing in his doorway. She was so tiny, so fragile, he could kill her with one finger. "Prove me wrong," he repeated. "About what?" "About humans being unable to hunt." Laughed. It was a deep, rumbling sound that shook the bones on his walls. "Little human, I have trained soldiers for 300 years. I have seen every species in this galaxy fight, kill, and die. I know what hunters look like. And you, he pointed one claw at her, you are not a hunter, you are food. Did not flinch, she did not step back, she simply stood there waiting. I want to take the solo trial on planet Cora, she said. The laughter stopped immediately. His 4 eyes went wide. For a moment he forgot how to speak. Cora, he finally managed. You want to go to Cora? Yes. Do you know what lives on Cora? 3 apex predators, the Shadow Beast, the Iron Jaw, the Silent Death. No cadet has ever captured any of them alive. Most cadets who try do not return at all. Stood up slowly. He walked around his desk and stopped directly in front of. He towered over her like a mountain over a pebble. If you go to Cora, he said quietly, you will die, not might die, will die. Those creatures have killed, they have killed, they have killed. What chance does a soft, weak, clawless human have? Looked up at him. She had to bend her neck all the way back just to see his face. I guess we will find out, she said. Stared at her for a long time. He searched for fear in her eyes. He searched for doubt. He searched for the survival instinct that should be screaming at her to run away. He found nothing, just calm, just patience, just something he could not name. Fine, he said finally. I approve your request. You leave tomorrow. Thank you, Instructor. Turned and walked out of his office. Watched her go. For the first time in 300 years he felt something strange. It was not worry, it was not fear. It was curiosity. That night news spread across the academy. The human was going to Cora. The human was going to die. Cadets gathered to say goodbye. Some came to mock her. Some came out of genuine respect for her courage. Sat alone in her room preparing her equipment. She took only 3 things: water, rope, and a small knife. Nothing else. Her roommate, a kind named Gora, watched her pack. Why are you doing this? Gora asked. You have nothing to prove to these fools. Smiled. It was the first time Gora had seen her smile. I am not doing this for them, said. I am doing this for every human who will come after me. They will never call us prey again. She closed her bag and walked out the door. Tomorrow the hunt would begin. The transport ship landed on planet Cora at dawn. The sky was dark red, and the air smelled like blood and rust. Dead trees covered the landscape like the fingers of buried giants reaching up from the ground. Stepped off the ship. She carried only her small bag with water, rope, and a knife, nothing else. No gun, no armor, no communication device. The pilot, a nervous named Boke, looked at her with confusion. Are you sure you do not want weapons? He asked. I have extras, a plasma rifle, a shock blade, something to help you survive. Shook her head. Those things will only slow me down. Slow you down? Human, do you understand what lives on this planet? The Shadow Beast can move faster than light. The Iron Jaw can bite through warship armor. The Silent Death. Nobody even knows what it looks like because nobody lives long enough to describe it. I know, said simply. That is why I am here. Boke stared at her. He had transported many cadets to Cora over the years. Some were brave, some were foolish, some were both. But this human was different. She did not look brave or foolish. She looked patient, like she had been waiting her whole life for this moment. I will return in 30 days, Boke said. If you are still alive, I will take you back to the academy. I will be here, replied, and I will not be alone. She walked into the dead forest without looking back. Boke watched until she disappeared into the shadows. Then he shook his head and flew away. Back at the Galactic Academy, everyone was talking about the human suicide mission. In the dining hall, cadets made bets on how long she would survive. The most generous guess was 3 days. The most common guess was 3 hours. Instructor sat at the teacher's table, eating meat from a creature he had killed himself. He listened to the cadets talk. He heard them laugh at the human. He heard them call her stupid, crazy, and dead. A young instructor named sat next to him. "Why did you approve her request?" asked quietly. "You know she cannot succeed. You are sending her to die." Put down his food. He thought about the question for a long time. "Because she asked," he finally answered. "In 300 years of teaching, no one has ever asked to go to Korra alone. Not even me when I was young." "That does not make it right." "Perhaps not, but there was something in her eyes, something I have never seen before. I want to know what it is." "Even if she dies?" Nodded slowly. "Even if she dies." Ankora walked through the dead forest for hours. She did not rush. She did not run. She moved slowly and carefully, studying everything around her. The ground was covered with bones, skulls of creatures she did not recognize, ribs as large as houses, spines that stretched for hundreds of meters. This planet was a graveyard. Everything that lived here either killed or was killed. As the dark red sun moved across the sky, found what she was looking for: tracks. Massive tracks pressed deep into the hard ground. Each print was as big as her entire body. Each claw mark cut through rock like a knife through water. The shadow beast had passed through here, not long ago, maybe a few hours. Knelt down and touched the tracks. She closed her eyes and imagined the creature, how it moved, how fast it walked, where it was going. Her mind built a picture from the clues the ground gave her. "You are heading east," she whispered to herself. "To water, you need to drink." She stood up and started walking east. Not running, walking. She had time, she had patience. She had something the shadow beast did not have, the ability to never stop. Days passed, followed the shadow beast across mountains and valleys. She slept only 2 hours each night. She ate plants and insects she found along the way. She drank from rivers and rain. The shadow beast was fast. It could cover in 1 hour what took a full day to walk. But the shadow beast had to rest. It had to eat large meals. It had to sleep for many hours to recover its energy. Did not need any of that. She just kept walking. On the 5th day, she saw the shadow beast for the first time. It was drinking from a dark lake, its massive body bent over the water. Its skin was black as space, and shadows seemed to flow around it like living things. Its eyes glowed red in the darkness. It was beautiful. It was terrifying. It was the most dangerous creature on the planet. And it looked tired. The shadow beast lifted its head and sniffed the air. It had smelled something, something strange, something it had never smelled before. It turned and looked directly at. She stood there in the open, making no attempt to hide. She met the creature's red eyes with her own brown ones. The shadow beast roared. The sound shook the ground and split the sky. It was a warning, a threat, a promise of death. Did not move. She did not run. She did not even blink. The creature charged at her with speed that broke the sound barrier. Air exploded around its body. Trees were torn apart by the force of its movement. At the last moment, stepped aside. Just one small step. The shadow beast flew past her and crashed into a mountain. Rocks tumbled down around it. The creature turned, confused. How had the small thing moved so precisely? How had it known exactly where to step? It charged again, and again stepped aside with perfect timing. The creature's claws missed her by a finger's width. This continued for hours. The shadow beast attacked, dodged. The shadow beast attacked again, dodged again. She never fought back. She never tried to hurt the creature. She simply avoided every attack with calm, calculated movements. As the night came, the shadow beast was breathing hard. Its red eyes were dim. Its powerful legs shook with exhaustion. Was tired too, but she was human. Tiredness was her natural state. She had trained her whole life to function while exhausted. The shadow beast had not. "You are fast," said quietly, "but you cannot keep being fast forever. I can keep being slow forever." She sat down on a rock and watched the shadow beast. The creature watched her back. It did not understand what was happening. It had never met a prey that did not run. It had never met a prey that did not fight. It had never met a prey that simply waited. For the first time in its ancient life, the shadow beast felt something it had never felt before. It felt afraid. As the twin moons rose over Korra, a new game began. It was not a game of strength. It was not a game of speed. It was a game of patience. And knew she would win. Back at the academy, the cadets had stopped making jokes. 1 week had passed and the human was still alive. Checked his tracking device every morning. The signal from his location chip showed she was still moving, still walking, still hunting. Impossible, Task whispered. She should be dead by now. Perhaps, said quietly, we do not know as much about humans as we thought. He turned off the tracker and looked out the window at the stars. Somewhere out there, on a planet of death, a small human was doing something no one in the galaxy believed possible. She was becoming a legend. 2 weeks had passed on planet Korra. The shadow beast had stopped running. It lay on the ground near a dead river, its great chest rising and falling with labored breaths. Its once bright red eyes were now dim and tired. Its powerful legs could no longer carry it. Sat nearby watching. She had not slept more than 12 hours in the past 14 days. Her body was covered in dirt and scratches. Her water was almost gone. Her muscles ached with every movement. But she was still there, still watching, still waiting. The shadow beast turned its massive head and looked at her. There was no anger in its eyes anymore. No hatred, only confusion, only exhaustion, only a question it could not put into words. Why do you not stop? Understood the question. She had seen it in the eyes of every creature she had ever hunted. Back on Earth, before she joined the academy, she had learned the ancient ways of her ancestors, the first humans, the persistent hunters. My ancestors hunted animals for millions of years, she said softly to the shadow beast. They had no claws, no fangs, no venom. They had only two things, patience and the ability to keep going when everything else stopped. They would follow an animal for days, for weeks, until the animal's heart gave out from exhaustion. We did not kill our prey, we simply outlasted them. The shadow beast closed its eyes. It did not understand her words, but it understood their meaning. The chase was over. It had lost. Stood up slowly. Her legs shook, but she forced them to hold her weight. She walked over to the massive creature and knelt down next to its head. I am not going to kill you, she said. I need you alive. She took out her rope. It was not strong enough to hold the shadow beast by force. Nothing was, but she did not need force anymore. The creature was too tired to fight, too broken to resist. She tied the rope around its neck in a loose loop, not tight enough to hurt, just tight enough to guide. Come, she said gently, we have more hunting to do. The shadow beast rose on shaking legs. It followed as she walked into the forest. It did not know why it followed. It only knew that the small human had earned something. Respect, fear, maybe both. Finding the second creature was harder. The iron jaw lived underground in a maze of tunnels that stretched for thousands of kilometers beneath Korra's surface. It only came out to feed, and when it did, nothing could stop it. Found the entrance to its tunnel system on the 17th day. The opening was a massive hole in the side of a cliff, surrounded by the bones of unlucky creatures. The shadow beast stopped at the entrance. It would not go further. Even in its weakened state, it knew better than to enter another apex predator's home. Wait here, told it, I will return. She walked into the darkness alone. The tunnels were black as death. No light reached this deep underground, could not see her hand in front of her face, but she did not need to see. She closed her eyes and listened. Humans had another gift that the galaxy did not understand. Their ears could hear things that other species ignored. The soft drip of water, the quiet crack of rock, the distant rumble of something large moving through the earth. Followed the sounds. She walked for 3 days through the underground maze, sleeping only when her body forced her to. She ate the strange mushrooms that grew on the tunnel walls. She drank water that dripped from the ceiling. On the third day, she found the Iron Jaw. It was sleeping in a large cave filled with crystals that gave off a faint blue light. The creature was even more terrifying than the stories said. Its body was covered in metal-like scales that no weapon could pierce. Its jaw was lined with teeth that could cut through anything. It was as big as a small mountain. Did not attack. She did not hide. She simply sat down at the entrance of the cave and waited. The Iron Jaw woke up an hour later. It smelled something strange in its home, something small, something soft, something that smelled delicious. It opened its massive eyes and saw sitting there, watching it. The creature roared and charged at her. Its metal body scraped against the tunnel walls, sending sparks flying everywhere. The ground shook like an earthquake. Ran. She ran through the tunnels as fast as her human legs could carry her. She made turns that she had memorized on her way in. Left, right, straight, down, up, left again. The Iron Jaw chased her. It was faster than her in straight lines, but it was too big to turn quickly. Every corner gave a few precious seconds. And every minute of chase drained the creature's energy. This was the human way. This was what did not understand. Humans were not built to win fights. They were built to survive them. They could run for longer than any creature in the galaxy. They could keep going when others had to stop. They could turn every chase into a war of time. And time was always on the human side. The chase lasted 2 days, up and down through the tunnels, around corners, over underground rivers, through narrow passages where the Iron Jaw had to squeeze its massive body. By the end, the Iron Jaw could barely move. Its metal scales scraped weakly against the ground. Its mighty jaw hung open, too tired to close. It had not eaten in days. It had not slept. It had not stopped. Walked up to it with another piece of rope. "You are the second," she said. "One more to go." She led the Iron Jaw out of the tunnels. When they reached the surface, the shadow beast was still waiting. The two apex predators looked at each other. In any other situation, they would have fought to the death. But now they were both too tired, too broken, too defeated by the small human who would not stop. Allowed them to rest for 1 day. She needed the rest too. Her body was close to its limit, but she could not stop now, not when she was so close. On the 25th day, she went to find the Silent Death. The Silent Death was different from the other two. It did not chase. It did not fight. It simply appeared and killed. No one had ever seen it coming. No one had ever heard it move. It was invisible. It was soundless. It was death itself. Knew she could not chase the Silent Death. She could not outlast something she could not find. So she used a different strategy. She made herself bait. She walked into the most dangerous part of Korra, the valley where most cadets had died over the years. She left the Shadow Beast and Iron Jaw at the edge of the valley and continued alone. Then she sat down in the middle of an open field and waited. For 4 days nothing happened, did not move. She barely breathed. She became like a statue, watching the world around her with patient eyes. On the 4th night she felt it, a presence, something watching her from the darkness, something that had no smell, no sound, no visible form. The Silent Death had found her. Did not run, she did not fight, she simply spoke. "I know you are there," she said into the darkness. "I know you have been watching me, watching what I did to the others. You are smart, smarter than them. You know that if you kill me now, you will feel safe. But you also know that if you attack, I will make you chase me. And you have seen what happens to those who chase me." Silence. "I am giving you a choice," continued. "Kill me and take that risk, or follow me and live. I will not hurt you. I do not want to hunt you. I only want to show the galaxy what humans can do." More silence. The darkness seemed to think about her words. Then slowly the Silent Death revealed itself. It was a creature made of shadows and whispers. Its body shifted and changed constantly, never holding one shape for long. It had no eyes that could see, but she felt its gaze on her. It stepped forward and lowered its head to the ground. It had chosen to follow. Smiled. For the first time in almost a month, she smiled. "Thank you," she said. "Now let us go home." She stood up and walked toward the valley's edge. Behind her walked the most dangerous creatures on Korra, following a small human who had done the impossible. The hunt was over. Now it was time to show the galaxy what they had been wrong about all along. The transport ship landed on Korra exactly 30 days after it had dropped off. Boke the pilot stepped out, expecting to find nothing. Perhaps some bones. Perhaps a torn piece of cloth. Perhaps just empty land where the foolish human had died. What he found made him fall to his knees. Stood at the landing zone. Behind her stood three creatures that made Boke's blood turn to ice. The shadow beast, its red eyes dim but still burning. The iron jaw, its metal scales scraping against the ground. And something that Boke could barely look at, a shifting mass of darkness that hurt his eyes to see. The silent death. "Ready to go home," said simply. Boke could not speak. He could not move. He had flown to Korra hundreds of times. He had seen the strongest warriors in the galaxy try to capture these creatures. He had watched and died trying. And now a human stood before him, with all three apex predators following her like obedient pets. "How?" Boke finally managed to whisper. Walked past him toward the ship. The three creatures followed, their massive bodies moving slowly, tiredly. "I asked nicely," she said. The flight back to the academy took 6 hours. Boke sent a message ahead, warning them of what was coming. He did not think anyone would believe him. He barely believed himself. He was right, no one believed him. When the ship landed at the academy's main platform, Instructor was waiting with several armed guards. He expected to find Boke making a bad joke. He expected to be angry at the pilot for wasting his time. The ship's door opened, walked out first. She looked different. Her uniform was torn and covered in dirt. Her face was thin from lack of food. Her eyes were circled with dark shadows from lack of sleep, but she walked with her head high and her back straight. Behind her came the shadow beast. It had to turn sideways to fit through the ship's door. Its massive claws scraped against the metal floor. Its red eyes looked at the gathered aliens with something that might have been amusement. Behind the shadow beast came the iron jaw. Each step made the landing platform shake. Its metal teeth caught the sunlight and sparkled like diamonds. It was even bigger than the stories said. And finally, crawling out of the ship like smoke escaping a fire, came the silent death. The guards screamed and pointed their weapons at it, but the creature ignored them. It only had eyes for, it only followed. Stood frozen. His 4 arms hung loosely at his sides. His 4 eyes were wide open with shock. In 300 years of life, he had never seen anything like this. The 3 apex predators arranged themselves behind. The shadow beast lay down, its great head resting on its paws. The iron jaw sat back on its haunches, its massive weight creating cracks in the platform. The silent death wrapped itself around its feet like a protective shadow. And then, one by one, the creatures did something that made every alien present question everything they knew about the universe. They bowed their heads to the ground. They were not standing with, they were kneeling to her, submitting to her, asking for her mercy. Looked at Instructor. There was no pride in her eyes, no arrogance, just calm confidence and the exhaustion of a month-long hunt. "I have returned," she said, "and I brought proof that humans can hunt." Silence, complete, total silence across the entire landing platform. Hundreds of aliens stared at the small human and her impossible trophies. Then Tass burst out laughing. But it was not a mocking laugh. It was the laugh of someone whose entire understanding of the world had just been destroyed. "She did it," Tass said, his snake-like body shaking with disbelief. "The little human actually did it." The laughter spread, but it was different from the laughter had heard a month ago. That laughter had been cruel. This laughter was amazed. This laughter was respectful. This laughter was the sound of a galaxy learning that it had been very, very wrong. News of return spread across the academy within hours. Cadets crowded around the landing platform, trying to see the human and her creatures. Teachers abandoned their classes to witness the impossible. Even the academy's director, an ancient being named Elder, came out of his office for the first time in decades. "Explain," Elder said. His voice was like thunder, and his presence made even the apex predators uncomfortable. Bowed her head respectfully. "Honored Elder, I did what my ancestors did. I chased. I followed. I waited. I did not try to overpower these creatures. I simply refused to stop until they had no choice but to give up." "Impossible," one of the teachers said. "No species can maintain pursuit for 30 days without rest." "With respect," replied, "humans can. We evolved as persistent hunters on our home planet. We chased prey across savannas for days until their bodies overheated and their hearts gave out. We do not have claws or fangs or venom. We have something better. We have the ability to keep going when everything else in the universe has to stop." Elder studied her with ancient eyes. He had lived for thousands of years. He had seen empires rise and fall. He had watched species evolve from primitive creatures to galactic powers. But he had never seen a human before. "These creatures," he said slowly, gesturing at the 3 apex predators, "are among the most dangerous beings in known space. Armies have tried to capture them. Armies have failed. And you expect me to believe that a single human with no weapons and no special powers simply walked them into submission?" Met his gaze without flinching. "Yes, because that is exactly what happened." The shadow beast lifted its head and made a soft sound. It was almost like a whimper, the sound of a creature that had been completely broken. "Look at them," continued. "These are not captured prisoners. These are beings that have accepted defeat. They followed me here willingly because they knew they had no other choice. Every time they ran, I followed. Every time they hid, I found them. Every time they thought they were safe, I appeared again. After a while, they understood that the only way to make me stop was to stop themselves." Elder was quiet for a long time. The entire academy waited for his judgment. "In all my years," he finally said, "I have studied the psychology of hunters and prey. I have read about the great predators of 1,000 worlds. I have trained warriors who could destroy planets." He paused and looked at with new eyes. "But I have never encountered anything as terrifying as what you have just described. A predator that cannot be outrun. A hunter that cannot be escaped. A pursuer that never stops, never tires, never gives up." He turned to address the entire crowd. "From this day forward, humans are no longer ranked at the bottom of the survival index. They are to be given a new classification entirely." Stepped forward. "What classification, Elder?" Elder looked back at. The small human stood surrounded by 3 of the most dangerous creatures in the galaxy, all of them too afraid to leave her side. "Nightmare classification," Elder said, "because that is what humans are. They are the thing that hunts even hunters. They are the monster that monsters fear. They are the nightmare that never ends." Bowed her head again. "Thank you, Elder." "Do not thank me, human. I am not rewarding you. I am warning the galaxy about your species. Everyone should know what you are capable of." He turned and walked back toward the academy. The crowd parted to let him pass. Watched him go. Then she looked down at the 3 apex predators at her feet. They looked back at her with something that might have been gratitude. She had given them mercy. She had not killed them when she could have, and in return they would follow her anywhere. "Come," she said softly, "let us find you something to eat." She walked toward the academy's main building. The shadow beast, the iron jaw, and the silent death followed behind her. Behind them, the galaxy began to understand something very important. Humans were not prey. They never had been. 1 week after his return, Instructor called a special assembly. Every cadet, teacher, and official at the Galactic Academy gathered in the main hall. It was the largest gathering in the Academy's history. Stood at the front of the hall next to, she had cleaned up since her return. Her hair was neatly tied back. Her uniform was new and pressed, but the look in her eyes remained the same: calm, patient, unbreakable. The three apex predators rested outside the hall. They had refused to leave side since they arrived at the academy. When she ate, they ate nearby. When she slept, they guarded her door. When she walked, they followed. The greatest predators on Korra had become her protectors. "I called this assembly," began, his voice echoing through the hall, "to address a mistake. My mistake." The crowd murmured in surprise. Instructor never admitted mistakes. He was the undefeated, the hunter, who had killed 100 apex predators across 20 worlds. "1 month ago, I stood in this very hall and declared humans to be the weakest species in the galaxy. I called them prey. I called them soft. I called them incapable of hunting." He paused and looked at. "I was wrong." The murmur grew louder, raised one of his 4 hands for silence. "Cadet has accomplished something that I could not accomplish. Something that no, or has ever accomplished. She captured 3 apex predators from Korra using nothing but rope, water, and patience." He turned to face the human directly. "I must know how, not for my pride, for the understanding of the entire galaxy. We have been watching humans for centuries, and we clearly do not understand what you are. Please explain." Nodded and stepped forward to address the crowd. She looked out at hundreds of alien faces. Some were curious. Some were suspicious. Some were still unable to believe what they had witnessed. "Instructor," she began, "you said humans have no natural weapons. You were correct. We have no claws, no fangs, no venom, no armor. If we fought any creature in this room in direct combat, we would lose." The crowd nodded. This was obvious. "But hunting is not about fighting," continued. "Fighting is what you do when hunting fails. Real hunters do not fight their prey. Real hunters defeat their prey before any fight begins." She walked slowly across the front of the hall, her words filling the massive space. "On my home planet Earth, my ancestors lived in a world full of creatures that could kill them. Lions with claws that could tear through flesh. Wolves with teamwork and numbers. Bears with strength that could crush bones. By your logic, humans should have died out millions of years ago. Yet you did not," said. "Why?" Smiled. It was not a friendly smile. It was the smile of a predator revealing its true nature. "Because we invented something that no other species in the galaxy has developed. We invented persistence hunting." She pressed a button on her wrist, and a hologram appeared in the center of the hall. It showed an ancient Earth, with early humans chasing an antelope across a vast grassland. "Our ancestors could not run faster than their prey, but they did not need to. They could run longer. Every animal on Earth needs to rest. They need to cool down their bodies. They need to recover their energy. Humans do not. We can run for days without stopping. We sweat to cool our bodies while other creatures must stop and pant. We can carry water with us. We can eat while moving. We can sleep for only a few hours and continue." The hologram showed the humans following the antelope hour after hour. The animal ran. It stopped to rest. It ran again. But the humans kept coming, always walking, always following, always getting closer. "Eventually," said, "the prey understands something terrible. There is no escape. No matter how fast they run, the humans will follow. No matter where they hide, the humans will find them. No matter how long they wait, the humans will be there when they come out." The hologram showed the antelope finally collapsing from exhaustion. The humans walked up to it calmly and killed it with simple stone tools. "This is what I did on Korra," said. "I did not try to be faster than the shadow beast. I did not try to be stronger than the iron jaw. I did not try to be more invisible than the silent death. I simply followed them until their bodies and minds gave up. She turned off the hologram and faced the crowd. You asked why humans seem so weak compared to other species. The answer is simple. We traded physical power for something more valuable. We traded claws for patience. We traded fangs for endurance. We traded armor for the ability to never, ever stop. The hall was completely silent. Every alien was processing what they had just heard. Task raised his hand. But surely other species can simply kill the human before the chase begins. What good is persistence if you die in the first minute? A fair question, replied. And the answer is that humans are also very hard to kill. Not because we are tough, but because we are creative. We make weapons. We make traps. We make plans. While you rely on the natural weapons you were born with, we have spent millions of years inventing better ways to survive. She pulled out her small knife and held it up. This simple tool is the result of millions of years of human development. It extends my reach. It compensates for my lack of claws. And most importantly, it proves that humans do not accept the limits nature gave them. We change the rules of the game. Stepped forward, his four eyes studied with new understanding. So humans are not weak prey pretending to be predators, he said slowly. Humans are the most patient predators in the galaxy, pretending to be weak prey. Nodded, now you understand. But why the pretense? Why let the galaxy believe you are weak? Smile faded, her eyes became serious. Because, Instructor, the strongest weapon is the one your enemy does not know you have. For centuries, the galaxy has ignored humans. They have dismissed us. They have placed us at the bottom of every ranking. And during all that time, we have been watching, learning, preparing. She looked out at the crowd of aliens. Many of them suddenly looked uncomfortable. Every species in this room has underestimated humanity. Every species in this room has assumed they could defeat us if they needed to. And every species in this room is now learning that they were wrong. The implications of her words spread through the hall like cold water. If one human could bring 3 apex predators to their knees using patience alone, what could an entire planet of humans do? Elder's voice boomed from the back of the hall. Are you threatening the Galactic Alliance, human? Turn to face him. No, Elder, I am warning you, not as a threat but as a friend. Humans want peace. We want to be part of the galactic community. We want to learn and grow alongside other species. She paused. But we will not be disrespected, we will not be dismissed, and we will never be prey. She bowed her head respectfully. I hope my demonstration on Korra has proven this. I hope we can move forward with mutual respect and understanding. But if any species in this galaxy tries to hunt humans... She looked up, and for a moment the entire hall saw what the apex predators of Korra had seen. They saw a creature that would never stop, never rest, never give up. They will learn what the shadow beast, the iron jaw, and the silent death learned. There is no escape from a human hunter. There is only the slow, terrible realization that no matter how far you run, we will follow. And eventually, you will have to stop. The assembly ended in complete silence. As walked out of the hall, she passed by Instructor. The massive looked down at the small human who had changed everything. You knew, he said quietly. When you stood in my office a month ago, you knew exactly what would happen. Nodded. I had to show the galaxy the truth about my species. I chose Korra because the victory needed to be undeniable. And if you had failed, if the creatures had killed you... Shrugged, then another human would have come, and another, until one of us succeeded. That is what we do, Instructor, we never stop. She walked outside to where her 3 apex predators waited. They rose when they saw her and fell into step behind her as she walked across the academy grounds. Watched them go. The most dangerous hunter he had ever trained was not the 7-foot warriors. It was not the venomous assassins. It was not the unstoppable soldiers. It was a small, soft, clawless human who simply refused to give up. He made a note in his records, a note that would be read by every military leader in the galaxy. Humans do not hunt, do not chase, do not provoke. They are the patient death, the walking nightmare, the end that cannot be escaped. They are the apex predators of patience. And somewhere on Earth, billions of humans continued their daily lives, unaware that the galaxy had finally learned to fear them. The universe would never see humanity the same way again.